Today we're going to talk about two topics. We're going to talk about justice and we're going to talk about mercy. From a minor incident to a major incident, we care very much about justice and mercy. I mean, let's get real. When wrong has been done to us, what do we tend to lean towards more? Well, when wrong has been done to us, we tend to lean towards justice, right? We want justice executed towards our perpetrator, our wrongdoer. On the other side of the coin, when we are the one that has done wrong to others, we tend to lean on the side of mercy, right? We don't want justice to come to us. We want all the mercy that we can get. And so we're going to look today at a very important topic when we're talking about true crime. So what does the Bible have to say about these two ideas, about justice and mercy? We're going to look today at some verses, and then we're going to look at a very important true crime Bible case in the Bible that shares beautifully the idea of justice and mercy. So let's look at these verses. In Psalm 33:5, this is in the NAS version. He loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of the loving kindness of the Lord. This says that our Lord loves justice. In Amos 5:24, in the NIV version, but let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. In Ecclesiastes 3:17, in the King James version, I said in mine heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. Let's look at another verse in Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes 12:14 in the King James version. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Everything. Not just evil, but good too. In Proverbs 21:15, in the NIV version, when justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to evildoers. In Isaiah 30:18, the King James version, and therefore will the Lord wait, that he may be gracious unto you, and therefore will he be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you. For the Lord is a God of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him. And the last verse we're going to look at is Proverbs 28:13 in the King James version. He that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. And so I could just keep reading on and on. There are so many scriptures that are on these two topics of justice and mercy. You know, we hear so much about God's mercy, right? And we tend to think that, you know, God is a God of mercy, but God is also a God of justice. We've read so many verses that show that, right? And so today we're going to look at how do these two work together. Let's understand both of these two. We're going to look today at our true crime Bible case. It is in Matthew chapter 27, verse 38, Mark chapter 15, verse 27, and Luke chapter 23, verses 32 through 43. Now, when you read these accounts, these are the accounts about the crucifixion of Jesus. Jesus is actually dying a very torturous death, and he is on the cross. And when he is on the cross, he is not on the cross by himself. He is actually hanging between two criminals, two thieves. He's got a thief hanging on the cross on his right-hand side. He's got a thief hanging on the cross on the left-hand side. So these two thieves are perpetrators. They deserve to be there, right? Justice is being executed on their lives, both of their lives. And the victim and the victim's families are seeing justice happen in their lives. But Jesus is hanging there, dying this torturous death, and he does not deserve to be there. He knows what it's like to be treated unfairly. He knows what it's like to have a dirty label thrown on him, a criminal. And all of the masses are believing it. When you read this account in Matthew and Mark and Luke, you're going to read about the people who are mocking Jesus. They are doing it verbally. They have a sign put on top of his cross in all different languages, mocking him. He's the King of the Jews. And the masses are believing this lie. So what are the response of both of these thieves hanging on both sides of Jesus? What are their response? Well, we're going to look at the response of one of those thieves. His response is in Luke chapter 23, verse 39. This is what one of the thieves said. One of the criminals hanging beside him scoffed, "So you're the Messiah, are you? Prove it by saving yourself and us too while you're at it." So one of the thieves hanging on the cross is believing the lie that it is so loud that is adopted by the masses. It's what everybody is thinking. It's what everybody is saying. And he has adopted that too. That thief has no remorse for what he has done. He doesn't even feel bad from his victims. He's stolen from his victims. He just wants out. He doesn't want to pay the consequences, justice being done. He wants, get me off this cross. Get me off this cross. When God created Adam and Eve, he did not create robots. He created people to have a choice. And we see that this thief has a choice. He can choose to go along with the masses and to make the wrong decision just like they've made. Or he can choose to not go along with the masses and to make the right decision. What about the other thief that's hanging on the other side? Does he have anything to say in this dialogue? What's going on here? Well, let's take a look at he does have a lot to say. And let's take a look at what he says, the other thief on the cross. Luke chapter 23, verses 40 through 43. But the other criminal protested, "Don't you fear God, even when you have been sentenced to die? We deserve to die for our crimes, but this man hasn't done anything wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "I assure you, today you will be with me in paradise." This criminal hanging on the other side goes against the masses, goes against the mockery. He does something very unconventional. He comes to terms with his crime. There's remorse. There is, he sympathizes for his victims. His response is very different than the other thief's response. And he is very courageous in what he does. He comes to terms with his sin. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't belittle it. And he wants to have a relationship with Jesus. This depiction of two thieves getting justice, only one of them gets mercy. Mercy was wanted by only one of the thieves. For you to get mercy, you have to come to terms with the wrongdoing that you've done. You have to want mercy. And that thief, that second thief, came to terms with his crimes, and he wanted mercy from God. You know, we have a tendency to think that, you know, God is so merciful, and so him being merciful cancels out justice, but it doesn't. His mercy does not cancel out justice. His mercy gives us relief from our sin. It gives us help of how to move forward with our lives. Our God is not a God who keeps constantly beating us up over our wrongdoing. He doesn't do that. Justice comes. Justice is the consequences for the sin. But we have to want mercy. And God grants that mercy. God grants us that relief of how to move forward with our sin. You see, we can't have mercy without justice. And you may be like, well, Jennifer, you know, I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I did not grow up in church. And I grew up in, I can relate to this scene. I grew up in a situation in which the masses were mocking Jesus, in which the masses did not even fear Jesus. They just laughed at him and scoffed at him. And so, Jennifer, it's hard for me to even, you know, go out of that mindset because it's so foreign. Well, let me encourage you to be like this thief on the cross and to go against the mindset of the masses, because that mindset that day was the wrong kind of mindset. And this mindset that this thief went up against was very courageous. He said yes to Jesus. And let me encourage you today to say yes to him. Let me encourage you to experience a relationship in which he leads you, and we happily follow him. That is my spiritual food for you to munch on the rest of the week. I can't wait to see you next time.